Now, when you watch high-level kickboxing like Glory, and then you see what's going on in MMA, where I think the level of striking is certainly advancing. You're getting better and better strikers, but it's really not at the same level that you're seeing in like world champion kickboxing.
Yeah, it's totally different. And people got to understand it's a totally different sport. The way you would fight in kickboxing, you're not going to fight the same way in MMA.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's takedowns, and there's a lot of very successful kickboxers who don't do well in MMA. A lot don't, because they keep that traditional Muay Thai stance where they stand very tall and they're fighting very tall, and of course a wrestler's going to take you down.
Right.
An example of a good Canadian striker is Shane Campbell. Shane Campbell fights in the UFC, and he's got an incredible background in Muay Thai, but he stays true to sometimes a little too much to his Muay Thai roots on the striking. You got to keep your hips back. You got to move. It's a totally different game. You got a 4-ounce glove, not an 8-ounce glove. So shit changes.
Yeah, it also affects your offense too when you're worried about takedowns. You're worried about all these different aspects of
fight.
Yeah, the clinch, the cage. You know, have you ever fought in a cage?
No.
We've been debating a lot lately. I talk way too much about it. People getting annoyed because I think that they should do it on like a basketball court. I really think fights should take place on a large surface with no obstacles, nothing other than the fighters themselves.
Did you like the Pride ring over the octagon, or?
No, I think rings are dangerous. Like you saw the Bernard Hopkins, Joe Smith Jr. fight, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a good example of why I think rings are dangerous. It's not often that happens where guys get knocked through the ropes, but it does fucking happen. And in Pride, I think, you know, they did a good job of standing outside the ring. Like the Pride organization was good, where they had a bunch of guys waiting to catch people.
But it's still weird. It shouldn't have to come down to that.
Exactly.
But I get it for MMA, but for like a kickboxing, I can't really see it being done in a cage. I think you had him on, John Wayne Parr.
Yes.
Yeah, he does caged Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he loves it, you know, and he does it with MMA gloves too.
Yeah. That's dangerous, man. You're putting good strikers on without a takedown. That's dangerous, man.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing, you know? I mean, it's a totally different thing with those little gloves too, right?
Yeah.
Have you done any fighting with little gloves?
No, I was actually planning to fight a few times, because before Glory, there was nothing. You got to look, originally it was K1, and K1 only had a lightweight division and a heavyweight division. So everyone in between had to pick a way.
Right.
I actually fought in LA. It was against a UFC fighter, Mehdi Baghdad.
Okay,
So I fought Mehdi Baghdad in LA, and it was I tried making for the first time 160, and it was hell.
You're a big guy. What do you walk around at?
Well, my non-fighting walk around about 200. When I was fighting, about 190, 195.
So you were trying to lose 30+ pounds.
Yeah, it sucked. It sucked. But I think that's the other thing. MMA guys know how to cut weight a little better than kickboxers do. I think there's that wrestling. Growing up with that wrestling helps. Yeah,
but I think it's more dangerous I know it's more dangerous with striking than it is with wrestling. And that's one of the problems with that wrestling mentality.
It's your brain.
Yeah.
Your brain's dehydrated.
Yeah, but see, the advantage in MMA of being bigger, it's not the same as the advantage of being bigger in striking, because being bigger in striking is important. It's definitely a factor. But it's so much more of a factor when you're clinching. So much more of a factor when you take guys down.
You lose a little bit of speed sometimes and that mobility. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about sparring with little gloves, what differences did you notice, or you think about fighting with little gloves?
It was more about moving more. And I coach a lot of MMA guys, and I actually got to work in the UFC. I got to corner twice in the UFC, which was pretty cool. I had Mitch Gagnon. And I got to corner Antonio Carvalho.
Who was Mitch fighting?
When he fought, I have to dig deep here. Young kid, I want to say he was Hawaiian maybe. Knocked him out. I helped train him he fought Walwell Watson. He knocked him out with a left hook. Who was that other kid that he fought? But my last Antonio fight was against Darren Elkins. Which was tough guy. That was one of those fights where Antonio got caught, dropped, popped back up, and Yves Levine called it off. And we're like it was an early stoppage. But yeah, he's protecting Antonio.
So it's interesting that a guy like you, who is this very high-level world champion kickboxer, learning how to fight and move with the small MMA gloves, it kind of shows you that striking, in particular with MMA striking, is still in a learning, growing phase.
Oh, for sure.
Because guys like you come in, and you are like guys like Duke Rufus, a former world champion himself, who's really good at training guys and teaching guys.
Dwayne Ludwig's doing a good job.
Perfect example. Yeah. And there's so many different methods and so many different styles that people are trying to incorporate.
I just think I think people focus fighting. The way I look at fighting, it's not actually what you throw. And I always get questioned, what's a good coach versus a bad coach? And a good coach is going to teach you positioning, distance. He's going to tell you more of the philosophies and strategies around fighting. Where there's so many coaches, and with MMA being so popular, there's every other corner has an MMA gym, and these guys are basically putting these fighters on pads, and they're just getting them tired. Jab, cross, hook kick, more combination. They get tired, and they think tired equals good. Right. Where there's so much more to fighting. Where's your distance control? How are you moving? You know, like, what are your counters? How are you countering? What are your defense? People think there's defense, but there's different types of defense. You got head movement, you got shield defense, you got footwork for your defense. You know, you got parries. So there's so many different ways, but it does take good coaching, in my opinion, to take these guys to that high professional level, and there's not enough of it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so hard for a young fighter to find really solid coaching. I mean, when you start out, you're really kind of lucky if you walk into a great gym your first time, because so few people, especially in the beginning, really know how to differentiate between a great gym and just a regular gym. Yeah. It's very, very difficult to tell.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But back to your original question, it's about mobility, in my opinion. Guys in MMA need to know how to move a little bit better. I think footwork is one of the most important things in fighting. And you got to be able to adapt. If you're fighting a pressure fighter, you got to be able to move and fight on angles. If you're fighting a guy who now likes to move a lot, you got to be able to pressure fight. So you have to have the coaching and the knowledge to be able to adapt accordingly.